Over the past decade, the global economy has endured a series of shocks that tested its resilience. From the sudden outbreak of a worldwide pandemic to massive supply chain breakdowns and energy shortages, nations have struggled to maintain stability. Inflation has surged, debt levels have soared, and trust in international cooperation has weakened. Yet compared to what we face now, those crises may have been only a prelude to something far more serious. Today we are entering a dangerous intersection where geopolitics and economics are colliding in ways we have not seen in generations. Tensions between major powers, particularly the United States, China, and Russia, are no longer limited to the battlefield or diplomatic meetings. Instead, they are spilling directly into global markets. Every new sanction, every trade dispute, and every shift in alliances sends shockwaves across currencies, commodities, and investments worldwide. One of the most visible arenas of this struggle is the energy sector. Russia's position as a leading oil and gas supplier has already disrupted supply chains, leaving countries scrambling to secure alternatives. Europe's rush to diversify its energy sources, Asia's shifting import strategies, and the rising costs of fuel are no longer just about economics. They have become matters of national security, survival, and long-term geopolitical leverage. Meanwhile, China is executing its long-term strategy through the Belt and Road Initiative, building trade routes and infrastructure projects across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. On the surface, this appears to be economic development. But in reality, it represents a global chessboard of influence, where ports, railways, and financial agreements are quietly tying nations into new spheres of dependency. This strategy could redefine how the global economy functions for decades to come. At the same time, the United States continues to leverage the dominance of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. However, new trends are emerging that challenge this dominance. The rise of de-dollarization, where countries explore trading in other currencies or digital assets, is gaining momentum. From Russia to parts of the Middle East, leaders are questioning whether their economic future should remain tied to the dollar. If this trend accelerates, it could reshape the balance of global financial power. If the US dollar's dominance weakens, the global balance of power could change in dramatic ways. Imagine a future where China's yuan or a digital currency backed by BRICS nations becomes the preferred medium of trade. Such a shift would not only transform how countries settle international deals but also redefine the very architecture of the global financial system, marking an economic revolution unlike anything in modern history. Alongside currency battles, the world is watching flashpoints like Ukraine, Taiwan, and the South China Sea. Each of these regions represents more than a local dispute. They are critical arteries of global trade. A disruption in these areas would not only risk military escalation but also trigger blockages in shipping lanes, access to resources, and flow of goods, with ripple effects that touch every continent. These disruptions are already visible. Food prices have climbed to uncomfortable levels in many regions, while shortages of essential goods, like semiconductors, continue to destabilize industries worldwide. What might sound like distant conflicts are, in fact, shaping the cost of daily living. From the price of groceries to the availability of cars and electronics, global tensions are leaving fingerprints on everyday consumer life. Technology has become another weapon in this new form of economic rivalry. Instead of being only about innovation, it is now being used as a tool of strategic influence. Cybersecurity threats, advanced surveillance, and even artificial intelligence are all part of the competition. Nations are no longer just racing to build the next breakthrough, they are also seeking ways to limit or weaken the technological capabilities of their rivals. A clear example is the ongoing semiconductor dispute. The US has imposed strict export controls on advanced chips to China, while China has responded with restrictions on rare earth minerals essential for electronics. These moves expose how vulnerable global technology supply chains really are. If tensions escalate further, entire industries, from smartphones to electric vehicles, could face unprecedented disruption, proving that technology is now central to economic warfare. The financial system itself has become a major battlefield in this silent conflict. Networks like SWIFT, once seen as neutral tools of international banking, are now being used as instruments of pressure. When reserves are frozen or access to global payment systems is restricted, it sends a clear message. Finance is no longer just about numbers, but about power. This shift has forced nations to reconsider how and where they manage their wealth. In response to this new reality, central banks around the world are making bold moves. Gold reserves are being accumulated at levels not seen in decades, as countries search for assets that feel safe outside the control of any one power bloc. The surge in gold demand shows a deep anxiety about the future of paper currencies. For many leaders, holding gold represents more than wealth. It symbolizes independence in a system they no longer fully trust. But while governments take these strategic steps, ordinary citizens are the ones who feel the most immediate pain. Rising inflation means groceries, rent, and energy bills are consuming larger portions of household income. Currencies in some nations have lost value so quickly that savings are evaporating. Even in wealthy countries, families are adjusting to an unfamiliar reality, economic uncertainty driven not by market cycles, but by global political conflict. For emerging economies, the situation is even more precarious. Many of these nations rely heavily on imports for food, energy, and technology, while also carrying significant foreign debt. When global markets shake, these countries are often the first to suffer. Some are already struggling with food shortages, currency collapse, and debt repayment crises, showing just how vulnerable the world's poorest populations are in times of global power struggles. Yet in the middle of this instability, opportunities still exist. History shows that moments of disruption can also create pathways for growth. Countries that act quickly to strengthen domestic industries, secure reliable trade partners, and position themselves as neutral players can attract new investment. Rising economies such as India, Turkey, and Brazil are working to use this shifting landscape to their advantage, potentially setting the stage for new power centers in the years ahead. Some nations are proving that staying neutral in these global rivalries can actually be a source of strength. India, for example, has managed to balance its ties with both Western powers and Russia, while also deepening trade with China. Turkey has positioned itself as a mediator in several conflicts, while Brazil continues to emerge as a key player in agricultural exports and renewable energy. By walking a careful line, these countries are attracting investment and influence, carving out roles as future global power brokers. History teaches us that wars and crises do not only destroy, they also reshape the world. After World War I, the United States rose as an economic powerhouse. Following World War II, Europe and Japan were rebuilt under new systems of cooperation, while the Bretton Woods Agreement redefined global finance. If today's escalating tensions ever spiral into something larger, the outcome could create another radical transformation in how the global economy operates. The new system that may emerge would likely look very different from what we know today. Instead of a single dominant power, we could see a multipolar economic world, with several regions controlling trade, currency, and technology. Blockchain systems, artificial intelligence in logistics, and decentralized digital currencies could replace many of the financial structures we currently rely on. This would be not just an evolution, but a revolution in global commerce. Yet the key question remains, can the world avoid open conflict and stabilize before it's too late? Some analysts believe that leaders will choose cooperation over confrontation, while others warn that the momentum toward rivalry is already too strong. What is clear is that decisions made today, in trade agreements, energy policies, and security alliances, will shape the financial future of billions of people around the globe. As a result, the entire world waits in uncertainty. Governments, investors, and ordinary families are watching these developments with caution, unsure of whether we are headed toward collapse or the dawn of a new order. What we can say with certainty is that the tensions we face today are already reshaping the global economy. Whether this leads to lasting conflict or a new balance of power, the effects will be felt by everyone, everywhere.